Welcome, welcome, welcome. It is Speedify Live Office Hours. Let's get some. Hey, we got a question of the day. But I'm your host, Alex Gizis. And this is Kevin Cunningham, who is the lead developer on Speedify. So this is Office Hours, which means it is your chance to ask Kevin any questions you may have about Speedify. Also me. And so as you guys post comments under the videos, we see them and we post them here. We're not going to go around just saying hi to everybody, but hi everybody. So first question, Thanksgiving technology. You guys have any plans, any Thanksgiving technology plans, any technologies you're using on your turkey perhaps, or to entertain the guests? What about you, Kevin? You got anything?
I have a thermometer, but I think that's about it.
Is that at least a Bluetooth thermometer?
No, this one's just a regular wired thermometer.
Yeah.
It works. Turkey comes out.
Yeah, for Thanksgiving, I think we're pretty traditional this year. So we'll see. I did tell you how I have no light switches in my dining room.
No.
I can only turn my lights on and off with Alexa. So far, it's working, but we'll see. I keep figuring if I ever sell my house, I'm going to have to put in some light switches. That might seem a little odd to the new buyer. But my walls are so clean. No ugly switches, right? Who needs that nonsense?
I think you'd have some override switch somewhere, but
I have a remote in the drawer, right? Also, there actually are light switches, but they're mounted on the ceiling in the basement underneath the dining room. So you can go down there and flip switches on the ceiling. How does that work out in network outage? It works out okay. So those switches on the ceiling are Caseta light switches. So that remote I mentioned is totally local. So the remote still works even if there's no internet. So, yeah. All right. Yeah, so more and more in my house, I have been automating. I've both got the Alexa stuff, but now I've put in a Raspberry Pi with Home Assistant, and it has taken everything over. You can like script things up, and so I've got I've got my alarm system has a motion detector in the kitchen, and so with this I hook it up that if in the middle of the night if the alarm system detects motion in the kitchen, turn on the lights, right? So it turns into motion lights, but only at night and things like that. Can the 50 gigabyte edgewise accounts be stopped? What do you mean? Where did you buy it from? Did you buy it from us? Did you buy it from the Apple store? Did you buy it from the Android store? All right. Yes, I need more information, VG. All right. VM Live Media Production. Hi, Alex. Good to see you. How was the StreamGeeks Summit? Enjoyed the chat in the virtual network. The StreamGeeks Summit on Monday was awesome. I had such a good time. It was in this crazy, the Deacon. I didn't know if that was actually a mile from my house, and I had no idea about it. It was a church that's been converted into an event space. So it was just this absolutely, awe-inspiring space with super high ceilings and stained glass windows, and yet, super modern. And I don't know, there were probably 70 people there, and then all the people online. And it was really, really good. There were all sorts of interesting people, including people who were, vaguely competitive, right? We had people from other router companies and from LiveView, and it was fun to get together, right? Lots of interesting people, lots of Speedify users. So I talked along with Ryan Brenneman. We split a talk where we talked about speedifying the Miri router and all of the like streams and events that had been saved by him, right? ECam Creator Camp. So we used it there. Actually, I wasn't there, but Ryan was. And it was apparently awesome. They had this event in the woods. And, you know, eCam. All right. What else? What else? Oh, yeah. And of course, we told the story of the Mr. Beast, right? The Mr. Beast Kai Cenat event where they set off the fireworks. All of that was powered by Speedify. And Ryan really tells the story because he was there. All right. How can I get a free coconut 50 gig? I don't know what that means, man.
I think he means account.
Account.
I was trying to get a free account.
Oh, yeah. No.
Yeah, we don't have free 50 gig accounts.
Yeah, we don't really have 50 gig accounts anymore at all. All right, so Pyro says, 2 of my biggest issues with Speedify have been VPI exit filtering and no throughput on very edge connections. I'm excited about being able to exit out of my home fiber, but anything to announce? Yeah, we're working on that. Right, it's the idea of being able to put some sort of server type thing in your house. I think step 1 to me is support people running servers in their own like cloud accounts. So you can have your own server in your Amazon account, in your whatever. Houses present special issues, but I mean, we understand them because you probably have firewalls and stuff that we have to navigate our way through. Where, you know, a server on a cloud account, you can just say, let everybody on the internet connect to me. And then we don't have any firewall issues.
Yeah, in terms of the performance you're seeing with on the edge of connections, is that your only connection available? And you're saying that Speedify is worse than it would be without when you're on the edge of the connection, or just that you're on the edge of the connection is bad? Because if Speedify is seeing that your main connection is bad and you're on the edge of it, it should be swapping in your other connection if you have another connection available. You know, if you're on the edge of your Wi-Fi and you have your cellular available, it can swap into cellular, and that should cover up the performance there. I guess you have more details about where you're seeing poor performance and what connections you have available at the time would be interesting to know.
All right. VG, you need to answer us. Where did you buy the Edgewise account? Did you buy it in the Play Store? Did you buy it on an iPhone? Did you buy it on Speedify.com somehow? Without that answer, there can't really help you here. So you got to answer that. All right, I'll just disconnect from Speedify and I'll get throughput again.
Okay. All right. Well,
should you send logs?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. The next time you're on the edge of a connection and you're seeing bad performance, if you can generate logs from Speedify and kind of tell us what you're seeing, that'd be nice to know. And yeah, we'll do more testing on our end, see if we can reproduce any issues like that.
All right. Alareza says, 1 issue, the connection changer is slightly slow. Please make it more smart and powerful. Connection changer.
Are you talking about
tell us a little bit more.
Failing over between connections, or what's the scenario we're seeing it be slow?
All right. VG, you need to tell us where you purchased this Edgewise account, because otherwise we're going to have to ban you because you're turning into spam here. We want to help, but you are not providing enough information, and repeating it does not help. All right, he's got another issue though. Another issue, the server didn't change automatically in Android app when we changed ISP or moved from one place to another, and I must turn off and on again to make it right. Please fix this too.
Yeah, so currently, I mean, if you maintain the same session and connection while you're moving, Speedify doesn't automatically interrupt and reconnect you today. Like, it won't reevaluate until the next time that you connect. We won't purposely disconnect your session. Yeah, we could maybe improve in the future that if we notice you moved a lot and we see you're idle, we could have an option to reconnect you. I guess it depends. Some people might want to be reconnected to a closer server, and some people might not want their session interrupted. So we can, yeah, we can look at that in the future. There've been other people that have complained about things like that in the past.
All right. All right. Other questions. All right. Speedify went on edge of my LTE. I'll drop Speedify and get some usable throughput. Sorry, I can't give a better description. Just wondering if there's anything new on this front.
We have had some performance fixes, particularly around high latency connections. I mean, it was mostly aimed at satellite connections, but if you're on the edge of LTE, that can also be a high latency situation. So it's possible the new version that's coming out this week might have some performance improvements in that type of scenario. So yeah, definitely try out version 15.1. It's available. It's available on some. Yeah, it's available on some platforms now. Some are still in review, but it's coming out. Yeah, coming out today.
So why don't we talk about that? So coming out today is a new version of Speedify. What's in there?
So yeah, so as I mentioned, we had some performance improvements around high latency connections. It was mainly focused around people using traditional satellite connections that are really high latency, hundreds of milliseconds. But yeah, if you're on the edge of connections, edge of Wi-Fi, edge of LTE, that's also a scenario where you can see really high latencies. So there were some times where our performance wasn't optimal, and so we made some improvements there. What else do we do? Oh, OpenWRT. So now there were some GLINet routers where the Speedify UI wasn't working correctly, and you weren't able to install it. We fixed that up now. Speedify is now integrated into the GLINet user interface under the VPN section. It just shows up there. You can install it now on a bunch of those other devices. And what else? Yeah, there's other various fixes, different improvements in the background. Those are some of the main things.
All right. John says, Alareza, is it possible that your cellular connection maintain a connection over cellular? Yeah. So that's certainly what Kevin is suspecting. He was talking about how he can move really, really far, and Speedify never switches to a closer server. There's a good chance that what was going on is that his cellular stayed connected the whole time. We never looked for a new connection because he was connected the whole time. You can potentially drive thousands of miles until the closest, server that we picked for you isn't the closest anymore. But we do that very much on purpose to stop things from ever changing on you. But as Kevin said, if you've literally done nothing on the internet, like you're asleep, it might be okay if every once in a while we said, is this still the best server? Maybe we should see if there's a better server while you're asleep and pop you over. And if you really didn't want that to happen, then you probably picked a specific server, like one of your dedicated servers or something, in which case we wouldn't. But, yeah. All right. C. Holland asks a good question. Is the packet tagging options only available for the router? I guess we've been a little fuzzy about that. It is certainly only available on Linux. I would say yes, it really is a router feature. Yeah. Although it does work on other Linux boxes at this point. But the real plan is that, yeah, it is in fact a router issue, a router feature. This is where we're talking about how people asking why the router license is more expensive. And I said there's functionality coming that will make you understand. And that's one of it. It's advanced stuff. DSCP tagging, it's a feature that we've we've only had enormous enterprise customers ask for, right? Because internet router, so DSCP tags are these optional flags you can put on an IP packet to say, oh, this is real time, it's really important, or this is not very important, or whatever. This is, a regular upload. Internet routers completely ignore them. It's like a feature that is not implemented on the internet, even though it's in the internet protocol. So really, as far as we've seen, only certain very large companies, broadcast companies, television networks will implement like on the packets, this is the actual live stream going to production. They'll use those tags, and in their corporate network, they'll treat it highly.
And there's some ISPs that do have handling that you can configure things. I think there's some satellite providers that you can prioritize certain traffic, but it is not across all providers. It's not handled consistently. It's certainly hit or miss whether they handle them or not.
VM Live asks, are the fixes also for cellular networks in the new update? What's the limit on the number of networks Speedify can combine? So my understanding is that there isn't really there are fixes for terrible latencies.
Right.
Latencies, we only saw issues ourselves sometimes when latencies got above half a second. We had people with 700 millisecond latency internet connections, and for them, we more than doubled the speed.
Yeah.
We more than doubled the speed of Speedify when running over a network with half a second of delay.
Which you can hit on cellular. So yeah, the fixes weren't nothing specific to any particular connection type. It's just that's where we saw the issues. So yeah, it could apply to other connection types, like cellular if you're on the edge. Limit on the number of networks. In the software, you can combine up to 31 connections, but usually the limit is more of how many networks can you get your device reasonably connected to and actually have independent internet connections. So yeah, I mean, if you're on a Windows computer, you can plug in a bunch of adapters and get a bunch of different networks if you actually have that many internet connections available. On phones, there's ways that you can plug in USB adapters and add more than just the normal Wi-Fi and cellular. There's ways to add other networks too, but it's a little more tedious. But yeah,
we actually did, in addition to the high latency testing for Speedify 15.1, we also did a lot of testing with huge numbers of internet connections. Although the only problems we found were in the user interface. The user interface was not ready to show that many connections. But so some fixes for a large number of connections showing up in the user interface went in. But we actually didn't find problems with how Speedify connects them, unlike the latency stuff where we did see some things. Here's a good point question. What scenario do you two turn off Speedify?
Very rarely. I keep Speedify connected on my phone pretty much all the time. And there's some apps that I bypass. My banking app I'll bypass. It won't let me do check deposits or whatever if I'm through the VPN. It's very rare that I need to connect Speedify, other than when I'm testing things. Obviously, I'm always installing new builds and switching things around and stuff like that. But
occasionally, I'll hit. I'm of course hitting sites that don't like VPNs and I have to turn it off.
Yeah.
But then invariably, a little while later, I was like, "Why the heck is this Wi-Fi so bad?" So Speedify's off. I cannot believe how terrible life is on an iPhone without Speedify. Like, I just hit dead networks all the time, and it's like hard to imagine that other people are okay with this.
Out in my driveway, get in the car and try to check something, and it's.
So we had a customer. He's now one of our largest customers who came to us and he tried Speedify, and he said this doesn't do anything. And he kind of blasted us, and he said he was uninstalling it, and he called back a week later. And he said, "I'm so sorry. I was so wrong. Right? I installed Speedify and I just had no internet problems. And I forgot about internet problems. And then I removed Speedify and I was having problems every single day. And it only finally occurred to me that what changed was taking off Speedify. And I put it back and then everything went back to fine. it's kind of a tricky issue for us, right? Because I mean, do you want us popping up all these notifications to remind you how great we're doing to stop you from being interrupted? Well, those are interruptions. So, all right, I have a question. I know I can ask through the CLI specific ask domains to not run through, but is the opposite possible? Could I just have my Team Zoom Meet calls go through, nothing else? Yes, I think. I did that, right? So I came up with a very odd set of settings. So like to get the Team Zoom Meet calls, I captured all packets on a port higher than something like 1,000. I might have actually ended up, 1,500 or something. You get all those high port numbers. And then I think there was a way there's some setting, I'm not sure if it's exposed in the CLI to swap it from allow mode to block mode. Yeah, I'll have to get back to you. I think a tutorial on this would be worth it. And I found it really worked.
Just all the web traffic would go around, and
yeah, because all that WebRTC stuff, which is what all the meets and stuff are, they end out using high port numbers on both ends. Where all like the web traffic and the normal app traffic, most of that's on 443 these days. So if you start grabbing sort of everything above 1,000, if you get tricky, maybe let 8,000, 8,001, 880, 881 still go through the other way, because those are likely weird websites. I kind of had it working. So yeah, let us get back to you on that. Whether this should be some minor feature for the future, a weird mode. I think it can be done, but I'm not sure I can tell you how to do it on this call. Yeah, sometimes I can't set specific things to bypass. Yeah. On Android, it's nice. On Android, you can go app by app. But unfortunately, like iOS and Mac don't allow us to do that.
Yeah, I mean, if you're on a device with the CLI, Windows or Linux, you can add, as one of the other users said, you can add custom domains and things like that you want us to bypass, or ports or IP addresses. So there's ways to bypass things that way, but we don't have that exposed right now in the user interface, or not available on all platforms. So yeah, we can talk about doing that in the future.
All right, Alreza, your servers are the best. Please update and make sure smart parts more accurate and powerful from Android user. No one can justify your work more than me because I live in the country under the toughest, most ruthless censorship of all time. You're great. Thank you. So let's talk server reputation. Should we talk about that for a second?
Sure.
So I don't know if you guys have noticed, we are partway through a giant drive to improve our server reputations and stop you from getting blocked on different sites and things. A lot of servers, like a lot of our servers, the worst reputations. So we've been getting them better IP addresses. So a lot of things can tell they're VPNs, but they're no longer marked as fraud. And this is an ongoing thing that'll take a while. Just curious, and you noticed things are getting better. We do have stats on what sites we're getting blocked on things, and they're getting much better. There's a lot more work there. It is ever changing. Also, if you're logging into our servers and hacking other people, please go away. We've got this strict privacy policy that we don't look at what you're doing, but the way certain servers suddenly get bad reputations, or some of you doing terrible things. If so, go away. Go use NordVPN. We're here for the professionals, right? We're here for the people trying to get work done. Thank you. I have a corporate VPN I have to use that doesn't play nice, but use Speedify to bond connections.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with a Speedify router, you can kind of separate, right? You can run the VPN on your client device, and then it hits Speedify on the router. That usually, but not always, usually works pretty well. I mean, some of these corporate VPNs now say, "Wait, why are you connecting from the cloud?" Yeah, there's only so much we can do about the corporate VPNs because it isn't a technical problem per se. In most cases, it's well-meaning security people purposely making sure that their VPN is treated specially and you know.
Yeah. And there are some cases where you can get it working, where if you connect Speedify first, and make sure that you tell it to ignore your VPN so you don't have loops of stuff going, that you can run another VPN over top of Speedify. But yeah, sometimes they end up just battling for default routes and things like that, and they're trampling on each other. Some VPNs don't play nice. Yeah. Some will, though.
Android has those work folders things now, yeah, where you can have a folder with a corporate VPN. Whatever apps you put in that folder go over the corporate VPN, and all your other apps go over Speedify. Actually, you can go the other way. You can put Speedify in that folder with your personal apps, and then your personal apps go over Speedify, and all the other ones go over the work VPN. It seems to actually work. Yeah, just on his work PC. Could you please explain how I could use Speedify on a laptop? Sure, you go to speedify.com, and if you're on a Mac, it'll send you off to you click download, it'll send you off to the Mac App Store. And if you're on a PC, you download the executable and you just run it, and it installs. And then in the introduction, there's a page where it says, where it tries about the third screen in, and it'll try to sell you something, but there's a sign in at the top right. You click sign in, and you sign in with that account you just bought. So then the trick is getting more than one internet connection to your Mac. Or what laptop? I'm sorry, I don't know. That's Mac, perhaps Windows machine. And you can join Wi-Fi. You can tether a phone over USB. You can plug in an Ethernet cable. You can plug in an Ethernet adapter over USB and plug cable into that.
You can use our new pair and share feature, where you can just share with, if you have Speedify running on your phone on the same local network, it can share its cellular connection to your laptop without having to explicitly tether it. Yeah, we can demonstrate.
Yeah. It's gonna work. Oh yeah. So this is us right here. So we are live streaming from a Mac here, and it's not a laptop, but it's the same as a laptop. And so this is the version from Mac App Store. So we're Etherneted into a Comcast cable modem. We're Wi-Fi'd into the same Comcast cable modem. So that's probably a mistake. We have other internet connections we could have used that would be safer. And then we have this phone. It is a Google Pixel that's on Verizon, which is using pair and share to share its cellular over the Wi-Fi to the Mac, which gives us a totally different internet connection. So we've got the Comcast, now we also have the Verizon. So if something happens to the Comcast, boom, we're still online over Verizon Wireless, wirelessly from this phone, right? So the Mac Mini is using Wi-Fi to connect to Speedify on this app, asking Speedify to send its packets over the Verizon. Gets them back. The responses come back over the Wi-Fi, back to the Mac, and voila. So that is pair and share. We actually have a Starlink here. We probably should be using the Wi-Fi to connect to the Starlink, so we have two different ISPs, which is what we usually do.
So he's using MacBook Air.
MacBook Air, that's a problem. So on Windows, you can connect to as many Wi-Fi hotspots as you have Wi-Fi adapters. So laptops come with one. but unlike, you can just buy a little USB Wi-Fi adapter, plug it in USB, and Windows gets it. The little Windows network connection thing down by the clock, if you have two Wi-Fi cards, the Wi-Fi settings, a combo box suddenly appears where you can pick between your two Wi-Fi cards. So you pick one Wi-Fi card, join a Wi-Fi network, go to the combo box, pick the other one, join a Wi-Fi network, and now you're on two Wi-Fi networks at once. Windows will only use one of them if you don't have Speedify, but if you have Speedify, we'll find both, use both. It works really nicely. Now, the Mac, Apple believes you only need one Wi-Fi. And not only are there no Macs with more than one Wi-Fi, there is no way to buy a Wi-Fi from anyone else and add it to a Mac. There are tricky exceptions if you really need it, like a travel router. You know, a GLINet travel router. You can trick that into joining a Wi-Fi network, and then you can plug it Ethernet into your MacBook. Now your MacBook thinks it has a Ethernet connection, but it's really going across the second Wi-Fi network. But Macs, absolutely, there's no way to add a Wi-Fi connection to it.
Yeah. Years ago there was, and yeah, they shut that all down and prevent all that now.
Yeah, it was a while ago. It was too bad. We had all these great videos we had made about how to add a second Wi-Fi connection to your Mac, and it is now impossible.
So yeah, to be clear, his comment here. So yeah, no, you can't buy another Wi-Fi card for your Mac that will work. At least not for the M2s. With the old Intel ones, maybe there are ways you could disable certain protections and do it. But yeah, with the M2s, you cannot.
Yeah, it won't work.
Yeah. Yeah, but if you can connect by Ethernet, USB Ethernet will work with a Mac. So if you can connect instead of with Wi-Fi, if you can connect with Ethernet with one of your connections, then you can use a USB Ethernet connection.
Yeah. So John is repeating kind of what I said. Yeah, that his workaround for lack of Wi-Fi adapters on a Mac is to use a USB-C powered travel router. Your travel router becomes, so you can get a router, and GLINet, I have no relationship with them, but you can get they make routers that are this big, so you can carry them in your bag, and you can have that router. You can configure it to connect to the Wi-Fi network, and then you can use Ethernet or sometimes USB-C to connect to it, and your Mac thinks it's an Ethernet adapter. So your Mac is using Ethernet. Macs can use more than one Ethernet, and then the Ethernet over in the travel router is switching over to Wi-Fi. So that is the only way.
You can also,
except for parent share, as Speedify says. Right?
You can also use Android phones. You can USB tether Android phones, and they'll share their Wi-Fi connection as well. That's another weird workaround.
But only the very newest Android phones, right?
It's been around for several years now at this point.
Yeah, I guess the Pixel 7 is too old though. I guess what's the latest? The 10 just came out, so probably two.
Oh, you mean the Ethernet? Yeah. So there's a new Ethernet tethering option from phones, but you can just, if you just do old USB tethering, it will share the Wi-Fi connection.
Do Macs
as well?
Do Macs acknowledge tethered Androids? I don't think
only
with the new.
In some cases, yeah. It depends.
I think they broke that on purpose back when they broke the Wi-Fi. So, yeah, recent Android phones with the Ethernet tethering mode, where you tether them to a Mac and they pretend to be an Ethernet adapter. Same nonsense, right? Macs don't want to use Android phones. Macs don't want to use other Wi-Fis. So a number of people have come up with trick them into thinking they're Ethernet, and now that's built into Android. Because what are you going to do? I've used Speedify since December. I had failovers even with more networks combined in Zambia. But thanks for the continuous updates, I was able to stream a big event in 5 hours in August with 0 drop frames.
Awesome.
That's what I love to hear, right? That is what I love to hear. All right, what else is out? Yeah, 100. That's right. The Miri Router is out. I think I've probably ranted about this enough. It is a router for professional video people, which some of you are. It's a $1,700 router. It has built-in 5G. It has built-in 4G. You can tether 2 phones off it. It has 4 Ethernet ports, all of which, in the latest software update, you can switch between WAN and Ethernet. WAN and LAN, right? So if you're not using, you can have 4 client devices hung off it if you're only using wireless connections. If you're only using wireless clients, you can connect 4 different Starlinks into it by changing them all to WAN ports or any combination you want. It supports parent share as well. So you can have Speedify clients join the hotspot it makes and share their cellular to the router. You use NPF batteries. So totally standard batteries. I guess they originally were the Sony camera batteries, but at this point you just buy them from third parties. A lot of gear uses it. So you can just get batteries, and it has 2 ports on it, so you can hot swap them. Batteries start getting low, you take one of them out, put in a fresh charged one, then you can take the other one. Even, there's no power, you can just endlessly change batteries. We used it for the StreamGeeks event on Monday, and went pretty well. We used it for the Ecamm Creator Camp this year. That went well. The Mr. Beast and Kai live stream where they blew up the house, that was all through a Miri router, and it was lots of fun. Well, you are here to help us, guys. I'm using Speedify to verbose connection for live streaming. Yes. A lot of obsession about live streaming. We do that a lot here. Obviously, right? I'm live streaming through Speedify right now. Yay! Here it is. It's really only 2 internet connections, right? The Ethernet and the Wi-Fi. I carelessly both connected to the same Comcast cable modem, but then we're wireless parent share to an Android phone, which is on Verizon Wireless. So we have a little bit of diversity. All right.
But yeah, important to point out that it treats the phone as a secondary connection. So you can see right now on the graph, I guess we're not showing it anymore, but it's just using the Comcast connection right now because that's good enough, and it's not wasting the cellular data or cellular battery or anything like that. But yeah, if the Comcast starts having a problem or slowing down or something, then it can kick in and use that extra cellular connection.
So we got a new video coming out on YouTube right about now. It's one of these weekly news roundups. Some of you guys love them. I've had a number of people reach out and say that they love my news segments. Although sometimes they also comment that they have no idea what I'm talking about, but they still love watching them. So hopefully you guys who would know what I'm talking about would also love them. So we talk about technology, security, connectivity. This one, I talk about the scammy behavior from the telecoms. Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile are fighting the FCC over the fines for the fact that they have been selling our location data. Your cell phone, they've been gathering where you are and selling it to marketers. You wonder, how do people know? Are they listening in on me? Well, it turns out they're probably not listening in on you, but they are tracking your every movement. And they can see who you're near and things like that. And it's terrible. They are arguing that the law says it is completely illegal to sell the data from, tracking someone's voice services. And they say, but we're providing people with voice and data. Therefore, it's perfectly legal for us to sell their location data. I don't know. I feel like at this point, fines should be tripled for making that argument in court, right? Now it's clear it's just fraud. And then there's the Starlink issue, which is entirely different, which is, I've been saying how great it is that Starlink has been bringing internet to places that didn't have internet before, or that had very slow internet. Now people can finally get 50 megabits of upload and can finally live stream for the first time. And I've been saying how great that is. And maybe I'm an idiot, because you know who's using it? All those scammers in Southeast Asia and South Asia. Now, with the Starlinks, they have good enough connections to be able to use AI fakes to go after old people in the US and con them out of their life savings.
Yeah, they can do video calls with them now and make it look like they're a real person. And,
yeah, so horrific. So, all this stuff, we're going to talk about it. YouTube right after this. Check it out on the Speedify channel. All right. Can Speedify work as a hub on an Android phone to bond more than 2 connections and sharing the signal with my laptop Air M2?
so yeah, but by default, using the built-in tethering, no. The Android tethering will go around Speedify. There are third-party tethering apps you can use that will go through Speedify. Yeah.
So with pair and share, this is one of the reasons we created it, because the Android phone will not act as a hub by itself. People coming in on the hotspot, it purposely just sends out cellular, just sends out the Wi-Fi. So with pair and share running on Speedify on the phone, you can pair to grab all the connections from your MacBook and do it that way. It's kind of a workaround, but it works pretty well. It really does. Yeah, so we had that video way back when of the baseball game. My phone made a hotspot and everyone else's phones joined. And various people were sharing their cellular with me. Various people were joining my phone also joined the guest network at the stadium. And so over the Wi-Fi, I was sharing that as well with the other people's phones. So we all ended out with, using all of the cellular plus the guest Wi-Fi, with just a bunch of cell phones running Speedify. So,
yeah. And another option now, I mean, we have OpenWRT support recently. You can get a little router to use that running Speedify, connect your connections to that and share that with whatever devices you want. They don't have to be running Speedify. You can share it with, whatever devices can join the Wi-Fi and they can get the benefits of Speedify. So yeah, other options just have a separate device that's not your Mac that's running Speedify, get the connections to that, and that can share with whatever device, your Mac and whatever other devices. If you have particular cameras or anything like that that need to connect over the Wi-Fi, you can do that.
GDPR, CCA, and other privacy laws likely disagree with their absurd reasoning. Well, I tell you. One, GDPR is Europe. Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile, they don't do business in Europe. They avoided that one. I don't know how CCA, I think there's a funny thing with some of these super huge companies. The FCC regulates them so much that they might only have the FCC rules apply to them, which say, you can't sell any location data on people who you're providing voice services to, but they're pretending they have a loophole. And hopefully they lose in court, because it seems like sheer nonsense to me. That just the instant you also sell people data, you can sell the stuff that's banned to be sold. Yes, pair and share with cell phones uses the tether data. Yeah.
And it uses, we use up to 10 megabits upload and download. We don't try and consume all the available bandwidth from your cellular, so there's still some left for your phone or left for other devices, and then we're not draining the battery on it too aggressively.
Yeah, and 10 is enough to do, a real video call, a live stream like this. What are we using here?
Yeah, we're using around 10.
Yeah, right, 10. Yeah, so it's 10 megabytes. So this could go over a parent share connection. So that's that. So do check out that news video. Do check out the Miri Router if you're interested in such things. It is a nice device. talked about Speedify 15.1. It's out. It is time for you guys to update if you haven't yet. And I think that's it. Oh, a bunch of improvements in 15.1. Did you mention this for the GLINet devices?
Yeah.
Am I right? Yeah, we now, if you have one of those GLINet travel routers and you can install Speedify on it with one of those router licenses, the Speedify user interface from the app is actually embedded inside the GLINet web interface.
If you go under on the left side, the VPN section, it lists other, OpenVPN and other Tor and other things under there. There's a Speedify entry. You can go to that.
So, what is the max capacity of the upload speed? On pair and share, we allow 10 megabits over each
per phone. Yeah.
Cellular phone that's paired. The actual speed, we try to make sure that any of our paying customers can get to 300 megabits at any time. The truth is, we do better than that. I've gotten 800 megabits through server. If you need much more than that, we have options around dedicated servers, or for $900 a year, you can get a dedicated server in the cloud with higher speeds for those who need to go a gigabit and things like that. It is possible. All right. Yeah, so the trick that 10 megabits per second is great capacity, but you should make it better than that. We're thinking about how to do this because you definitely can't, right? I mean, it's easy to come up with nightmare scenarios where if we go crazy with parent share, where we make things worse, right? Where so many people are trying to use each other's 5G connections on the Wi-Fi that the Wi-Fi slows down, right? And the Wi-Fi doesn't have unlimited bandwidth. It is not a 10 gigabit Ethernet cable between the devices. It is a shared medium. So things can go wrong. If we go ahead and say, oh, let everybody use all the cellular they want, we can end up creating bottlenecks and making the internet worse for people. So the 10 megabits is a nice level where we save your butt, right? Nobody's ever embarrassed by a 10 megabit connection, right? You do 720p, you 1080p at 30 frames a second, but not 60 frames a second, right? So that's what's going on. We have to make sure that we're not the bad guys who break the internet by sending so much crap. And it's a real concern. It's a real concern. So yeah, it's one of these funny things. All right, there's our new video. So check it out on YouTube. Some of you watch, most of you are watching on YouTube. Some of you are on Twitch. If you're on Twitch, pop over to YouTube, search for Speedify. Click this link. It'll be great. All right, everybody. I think that's a stream. And we will end with a comment from my friend Mohammed. You are the best. You guys are the best. Really appreciate you guys spending a little time with us here today. Thank you, Kevin. I know you're a very busy man. Rolling out new versions of software for all of us. We do appreciate that. All right. Thank you, everybody. And I will see you all online.